My husband died 4 days before I gave birth. 4 days. That was all the time life gave me between losing the love of my life and bringing our children into the world. And just when I thought nothing could hurt more than standing beside my husband's coffin, my own father walked into my hospital room, slapped me across the face, and stole my newborn son. 90 seconds later, he was on his knees begging for mercy. But to understand why that happened, you need to know what kind of man my father really was. My name is Emma Collins. 3 years ago, I thought I had the perfect life. I was married to Daniel Collins, a man so kind that strangers instantly trusted him. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't arrogant. Despite being incredibly successful, Daniel treated everyone with respect. The first time we met, I was working a double shift at a coffee shop while finishing college. He came in every morning for 2 weeks, always ordered the same thing: black coffee, no sugar, no cream. Eventually he asked for my number. I said no, twice. The third time he laughed and said, "Okay, then at least let me know your name so I can stop calling you coffee girl." I laughed, and that was the beginning of everything. 6 months later, we were inseparable. 2 years later, we got married. A year after that, I found out I was pregnant with twins. Daniel cried harder than I did. I still remember him kneeling beside our bed with tears running down his face while holding the ultrasound photos. "2 boys," he whispered. We made 2 little boys. For weeks afterward, he acted like the happiest man alive. He painted the nursery himself, built the cribs himself, read parenting books every night. Every single evening, he placed his hands on my stomach and talked to our babies. "Hey, little guys." That was always how he started. "Your dad loves you already." Sometimes I would pretend to sleep while listening. Those moments became some of my most treasured memories because I never imagined they would be all I had left. 4 days before my due date, Daniel left for work like any normal morning. He kissed my forehead, touched my belly, then smiled. "I'll be home early." Those were the last words he ever spoke to me. At 11 that morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Thank God I didn't. The voice on the other end belonged to a police officer. And within 30 seconds, my entire world collapsed. A drunk driver had crossed the median. Daniel's car took the full impact. The officer said they did everything they could. But Daniel died at the scene. I don't remember much after that. I remember screaming. I remember falling. I remember waking up in a hospital bed surrounded by nurses. And I remember desperately wishing it was all a nightmare, but it wasn't. The funeral happened 2 days later. I spent most of it feeling numb, like my body was present but my soul had disappeared. People hugged me, people cried, people offered condolences. I barely heard any of it, yet one thing stood out: my father, Richard Hayes. Even during the funeral, he seemed unusually interested in Daniel's finances. Not his death, not my grief, not my unborn children, his finances. At first I thought I was imagining things. Grief can make people paranoid, at least that's what I told myself. Then I overheard something that changed everything. The funeral reception was ending when I stepped into a hallway looking for a restroom. That's when I heard my father's voice. "We need to move fast." I froze. He was talking to my older brother, Michael. "What if she refuses?" Michael asked. Dad laughed. "Then we'll make sure she doesn't have a choice." My stomach twisted. Something about their tone felt wrong, very wrong. I wanted to walk away. Instead, I listened. "Those babies are worth millions," Dad whispered. "And if we play this correctly, our family never has to worry about money again." My blood turned cold. I backed away before they noticed me. That night I barely slept, not because of Daniel. Not only because of Daniel, because for the first time in my life I genuinely felt afraid of my own family. The truth was, my father had always been obsessed with money. Growing up, everything revolved around it. If he spent money on you, he expected loyalty. If he helped you, he expected repayment. Nothing was ever free. Nothing was ever unconditional. When I married Daniel, my father's behavior became even stranger. Suddenly he wanted family dinners, family vacations, family photographs. He acted like father of the year. Daniel saw through him immediately. One night after dinner, he looked at me and sighed. "Your father doesn't love me." "What? He loves what he thinks I can do for him." I got defensive. Daniel smiled sadly. "Emma, sometimes the people closest to us are the hardest to see clearly." At the time I thought he was being unfair. Now I wish I had listened. 3 days after Daniel's funeral, labor began. I was alone. That realization hurt almost as much as the contractions. Daniel was supposed to be beside me, holding my hand, making stupid jokes to calm me down. Instead, there was only an empty chair and silence. The labor lasted nearly 14 hours. By the end, I was exhausted, emotionally broken, physically drained. Then I heard crying, 2 tiny cries, 2 tiny miracles, my sons, Ethan and Noah. The nurse placed them in my arms, and for the first time since Daniel died, I felt something other than grief, hope. Because when I looked at those boys, I saw him, his eyes, his nose, his smile. A piece of Daniel still existed, and nobody could take that away. At least that's what I believed. The next 3 days passed peacefully. Daniel's parents visited constantly. Unlike my family, they genuinely cared. His mother cried every time she held the twins. His father barely spoke because he was still grieving, but their love felt real, safe. Then came the 4th day, the day everything exploded. I was feeding Noah while Ethan slept peacefully beside me. The room was quiet, warm, comfortable. For a moment I almost felt normal. Then the door burst open. The sound startled both babies. I looked up. My heart immediately sank. My father. My brother Michael and Michael's wife Karen, none of them looked happy. None of them looked excited to see the babies. Instead, they looked focused, determined. Like people arriving to complete a job. "Dad," I asked, "what are you doing here?" Without answering, he dropped a thick folder onto my hospital bed. The papers slid across the blanket. "Sign them." A chill ran through my body. "What is this?" "Read it." My hands trembled as I opened the folder, and then I stopped breathing. Temporary guardianship documents for Noah, my newborn son. I looked up in disbelief. "What is this?" Karen stepped forward. Her voice sounded rehearsed. "We've discussed it as a family." "A family? You have 2 babies," she smiled. "We can't have children. This arrangement benefits everyone." I honestly thought I misunderstood. Then Michael spoke. "We would raise Noah." The room started spinning. "No," Dad's face darkened. No, I pushed the papers away. "Absolutely not." The atmosphere changed instantly. Every fake smile disappeared. Every polite expression vanished. Suddenly I saw exactly who they were. Predators. Dad crossed his arms. "You're not thinking rationally. I'm their mother. You can't raise twins alone." "I'll figure it out," Michael scoffed. "You can barely take care of yourself." My hands clenched. I said no. The silence that followed felt dangerous, like standing near a lit fuse. Then Dad leaned closer and finally revealed the truth. "You don't understand how much is at stake." I stared at him. "What does that mean?" His eyes narrowed. "Daniel's estate." There it was, the real reason, money. It had always been money. I felt sick. "You want my son because of his inheritance?" Nobody answered. They didn't need to. The silence confirmed everything. My father wasn't looking at Noah as a baby. He was looking at him as a bank account, and that realization terrified me more than anything, because suddenly I understood something. They hadn't come here hoping, they had come here planning. And I had no idea how far they were willing to go. The look in my father's eyes told me everything. This wasn't a discussion, it wasn't a request, it was a demand. "You've lost your minds," I whispered. Dad's jaw tightened. "Sign the papers." "No, Emma, don't make this difficult." "No." The second time I said it louder, stronger. For a moment nobody moved. Then everything happened at once. My father stepped forward and slapped me so hard my head snapped sideways. Pain exploded across my face. I heard one of the babies start crying, then the other. "Dad," I screamed. Before I could react, Michael lunged toward the bed. He grabbed Noah directly from my arms. My newborn son let out a terrified cry. The sound shattered me. "Give him back." I tried to stand. A sharp pain ripped through my body. I was still recovering from childbirth. I collapsed back onto the mattress, helpless, terrified. Watching my brother carry my son toward the door, Karen grabbed the diaper bag. Dad collected the paperwork. They had planned every detail. "Stop," I screamed. "Please." Nobody listened. Michael was already halfway to the exit. Dad turned and smirked. "You should have cooperated." Then he walked away. For a second I felt completely broken. Daniel was gone, my baby was being stolen. And nobody was there to help me. Then I remembered something. Months earlier, Daniel had shown me a hidden emergency button installed beneath the hospital bed. His family owned part of the hospital. Certain private suites had enhanced security systems. "Hopefully you'll never need this," he had told me. My shaking hand slipped beneath the mattress and pressed the button, once, silently. Nothing happened, at least not immediately. My family laughed. Dad noticed the smile that suddenly appeared on my face. "What are you smiling at?" I looked at the clock. 90 seconds. That's all I needed. The first 30 seconds passed, then 60. Michael reached the hallway carrying Noah. Karen looked relieved. Dad looked victorious. Then the hospital floor erupted into chaos. The emergency doors slammed shut automatically. Red security lights flashed overhead, and suddenly armed hospital security officers appeared from both ends of the hallway. "What the hell?" Michael shouted. Noah started crying harder. Within seconds, 4 officers surrounded him. "Put the child down immediately." Dad's face turned pale. "You can't do this," one officer ignored him. Instead, he carefully took Noah from Michael's arms and handed him back to a nurse. The relief I felt was overwhelming, but it wasn't over. Not even close, because another group had just arrived. 2 police officers, a hospital attorney, and standing behind them was Daniel's father. The moment Dad saw him, all confidence disappeared. Daniel's father looked furious, absolutely furious. "I warned you," he said quietly. Nobody spoke. The attorney opened a folder. "We received reports weeks ago that attempts might be made to interfere with the legal heirs of Daniel Collins." Dad's face went white. Michael looked sick. Karen started crying. Then the attorney revealed the final bombshell. Every hallway, every entrance, every room near the maternity wing had surveillance cameras. Everything had been recorded. The slap, the kidnapping attempt, the documents, everything. Dad suddenly started shaking. "This is a misunderstanding." "No," Daniel's father replied. "It's a crime." For the first time all day, I saw fear in my father's eyes. Real fear. The police stepped forward. And my father, the man who had spent his entire life controlling people through intimidation, greed, and manipulation, started begging, "Please." Nobody listened. Because 90 seconds earlier, he thought he had won. Now he was the one begging for mercy, and this time nobody was willing to give it.